This morning, a health alert to parents. 90% of drug addictions start during your child's teenage years. 90%. Student athletes can be especially vulnerable, unfortunately, because, they get injured, they're prescribed pain medication, and oftentimes they can get hooked. It happened to a local teenager, Derek Hatcher, a local football star at Ridgeview High School in Clay County. That addiction led to his death.
He loved football. That was his life. He eat, sleep, dream, everything about football. It was just part of who he was.
Debbie Reiser says her son was really good at football. His freshman year, he earned the starting QB position at Ridgeview High School and led the team to a championship win in 2008. He became one of Clay County's all-time leading passers. He was so good, he went on to play in college. That's when it started.
Derek had access to pain pills everywhere. It was all over the football field. All of the football players were doing it. It was a recreational drug.
And it became his addiction, which eventually led to a cocaine problem that ended his college football career.
When he was kicked out of college, he came home and got worse because he found that the drugs in Jacksonville were cheaper than they were up in North Carolina.
Her talented son spiraled, ended up in jail and in rehab, eventually turning his life around.
And I had no idea that one line would turn into 4 years of a nightmare.
He started sharing his story with other student athletes. This is him speaking to football players at Ridgeview High School a couple of years ago.
I can't go back and change. All I can do is try and help, share my story, share the knowledge of what I have, what I went through. Hopefully change your minds, how you're living your lives.
He was back on track.
He actually had a job, and then he got back into college, and he was offered to play football again to finish his last semester of college.
Until Debbie says her son attended a college party and relapsed. The drug he took was laced with fentanyl. He died of an overdose at just 24 years old.
I think it's important for parents to not bury their head in the sand and not be naive and know that it could happen to your child too. I thought my son was perfect, and this happened to him. So I think it's important for parents to understand this is everywhere.
Everywhere. It's everywhere. Now, she says that she couldn't believe her son, of course, had overdosed, considering the fact that he'd been in rehab. And she says it didn't hit her really until she was picking out his headstone. And she was so overcome with the grief of losing her son, she bought a gun and planned to take her own life at his graveside. She didn't, thankfully. She's getting help because she says that her son's message, Derek's message, is so important, someone has to tell it since he can't.